Hello and welcome to this podcast. Today with us we have an amazing guest, Varun Miglani, who is a shareholder and angel investor in Faad Network, Angelbay, Pedalstart and Agcubator. In this podcast we discussed some amazing topics like his investment strategies, how to pitch to investors. We discussed about team and what are some necessary aspects to have in your team when building a startup, and about his investments and how he contributes to the growth and success of startups. This was an amazing conversation where we discussed some amazing topics, and you have to go through them. So let's get started. Thank you so much, Varun, for joining in.
Hey, hi Aryan, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for taking out time and for this podcast. Looking forward to it.
Sure, sure. I hope you'll have a good time having a conversation and discussing all about the interesting stuff happening in the startup ecosystem and all.
No, I think it's always fascinating to speak to somebody from our own college, and I hold only engineering degree, so DC is very much close to my heart, and yeah, so happy to discuss it out with you, and let's see.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for me as well to connect with my DC alumni.
So it's always fascinating, I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of the ways by which we can give back to our alma mater and to the society as well in whatever way we can. I think these kind of communications with other alumni who has learned a lot, who has achieved in life. I think their learnings can be of good help to new professionals, new young entrepreneurs, everybody in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Like apart from this actual podcast around the investment and startup ecosystem, like I personally also would like to interact with you to know about your college time and have some conversation around that as well sometime later.
Sure, definitely. Though I might not have a lot of stories. I was a day scholar. I was
Oh.
not in hostel. So I might not have much stories, but yeah, I think those 4 years transformed me a lot. That's for the other time, I think.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
not
it
in this.
must have taught you like immense lessons and like for shaped you for your future journey.
Yeah, I mean, before that, I was very shy guy. I was more into studies.
Right.
I was a school topper. Uh, and even in engineering, I got a gold medal. I was in the top one or two people, you can say, from the whole batch. Uh, Apart from studies, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of lessons that you learn. You build your relationships. You have a
Absolutely.
bigger horizon to look at, and you become a person. And I still feel we were not so much smart like what I see today. There are engineers in their first second year. They are doing startups. They are building companies. They are selling companies as well. So I think times has changed, and it's definitely good for everyone, and especially for the industry and future.
Yeah, surely. Yeah, like let's get like move forward now. So like we'll like the first question I'd like to ask you is like what is your investment strategy? Like as you mentioned earlier, like you've invested in 4 startups and you're also going forward to invest in one startup. So like what is your investment strategy and what thought do you have in mind and how do you evaluate the startups like that before investing?
Right. So obviously, team holds the most important aspect when we are evaluating startups. For me, it's like what value add I can bring to the table apart from money. So if all the investments that I have done, these are the companies who are further evaluating, investing, incubating startups. So I, as an individual, as an investor, I work with the portfolio companies on their fundraise, alliances, doing my bit on the hiring part or business growth, whatever under the sun I can do. If I can't do anything much in the companies, I don't feel investing in them. So that's number one. And second is the wavelength frequency match with the team who is building the solutions. So these are the two things. Apart from that, there is market, there is solution, everything comes, but these two factors holds the most priority for me.
Right. And what are the like recent trend changes that you've seen in the startup ecosystem?
I think there is a lot of consolidation happening. There is a lot of earlier there was so much hype about valuation, about you anything tech, anything tech enabled was getting a lot of hype, funding, and all that. But now I think everybody has understood that having users is very different from having customers who are actually gonna pay. And you can't build a business just by burning money. At the end of the day, there should be some road to the profitability, or at least sustainability, if not profitable. So I think that trend is definitely changing. And and with this, you can see there is a lot of there is a lot of emphasis on building the product market fit, lot of emphasis on building the culture right from day one. And with so much of fraudulent activities happening as well, so now investors are also conscious that whom they are backing, and what's their vision, and how much ethical as well as how much conscious these founders are. Obviously not everyone is into this, but still these some cases when they come to the limelight, they actually they actually detox the whole system, which is very good, I think.
Right. And you mentioned product market fit. So what are some key aspects that any startup that is like growing right now, like what key things they should keep in mind, like more like product market fit that will help them sustain, move towards sustainability?
I feel if while building a solution, first of all, there should be a problem for which you are building a solution. It should not be other way around. You have the solution and then you are running for the problem. That is number one. And secondly, I would say it's good to build a painkiller rather than a multivitamin, because you can live without. Obviously, I am not advising anything here. Just an analogy that if the customer is willing to pay for it, I think then you are on the right track. If you are just an option for the customer, uh, I mean, you definitely should think differently, think more innovatively. And third thing is, while searching for this product market fit, I think the iterations and how soon you can iterate is very important. So launch with the minimum viable, or the minimum usable, minimum sellable features. Launch it and seek the reviews, seek feedback from customers who are actually gonna pay for it. So and as I mentioned earlier, sometimes as enthusiastic founders, we tend to confuse users with customers. So there has to be a clear understanding of whether the money that we are burning for, or the CAC, is actually for users or actually end customers.
Hmm. Yeah, that really resonated with me. The you mentioned the point that startups should be solving problems, should be looking for solutions to problems rather than problems to a particular solution that they have. Had this opportunity to interact with Varun Alag, the co-founder of Mama Earth. So even he had mentioned this point, कि startups should work towards this funda.
We
Yeah.
have seen most of the companies, I won't say it's and sometimes the mature founders, sometimes so we as a human, uh, as a human we tend to make mistakes, do errors. So sometimes we can be before the timing, before the market, or sometimes we may be too early as a solution for which the problem may come, maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line. Or maybe the problem is not that big or peculiar for which you may charge money.
Right.
So these are some aspects for which, let's say, for example, you've got navigation maps. So if the companies might have thought, okay, let's charge people for it, and the final end consumer, not sure whether they could have built it, but they had their own business model wherein they are charging B2B players rather than going B2C. So these are some things, that one should be aware of what market we are playing in and what solution we are bringing to the table.
Right. Also, one more thing. You mentioned this thing that sometimes the product or the business that they are building is earlier than the market. Like the market is not ready to adjust or kind of to that business. So I was talking with this drone tech founder recently, and he mentioned that like when he began his startup initially, the drone industry, drones were basically banned, and but yet he still stuck onto it, and then he worked onto it, and now he is good enough. His company is leading the drone industry. So like what is your viewpoint? Like should it, as an investor, what he said was investors should believe in such startups that will be future, like that, whose products will be working good 5 years down the line. So as an investor, what is your viewpoint on such startups that will be uh, functionable efficiently 5 years down the line? Would investing in them be in your mindset? Would you look forward to it?
So I think investors definitely come in different shapes, size, colors. So when I say that, I mean to say there are investors who might invest in futuristic technologies only because they understand that. So I think it's so when the founders they reach out to investors for fundraise, so there are n number of investors. You can't please everyone. It's the most realistic or the most reasonable found investor one should reach out, who might understand what you are building. See, investing or fundraising will is a byproduct. If the investor somehow likes you and understands what you are building and your vision, either he or his reference or his group of people or something or the other will definitely work out. So I think sometimes what happens is you a founder gets so many rejections that he stops reaching out to more people. But it's just one fine yes is what we need, and it can be after 100 no's, 500 no's, you never know. And when I say 500, there are thousands of investors out there. So it's the profiling. One needs to do right kind of profiling, whether the investor is actually into it. So if you are a deep tech startup and you are reaching out to a FMCG guy who understand FMCG only, so maybe he'll like you, he'll write a small check. But whether there is a conviction,
The
whether
amount of
he'll
value
add
that he,
value,
yeah, exactly.
whether he'd add value, because at the early stage you require money as well as value addition. If I can write you a 50,000 odd check, but if I can add value, open up a lot of gates. I've seen there have been instances where the founders might have a clause that they'll raise 5 lakh per investor, but from a strategic guy, they'll take only 50,000 as well. And I can definitely tell you from my experience. So reaching out to right guy, that's how it is.
Right. Okay, that was good that you met. Like it was good knowing that part from an investor point of view. So
I think the fundraise or reaching out to investor is very much like dating, or it's very much like business development activity. So you got to take it like this only.
yeah, there should be a
Uh,
connect between both the parties.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and you got to be very much, you need to have so much knowledge about the other person, because, trends changes. And similarly, interest also changes. So, there are a lot of things that happen on the investor side as well. And it can be individual, it can be a group of investors as well. Like at Angel Bay or at Faad Network, where I have invested. I'm a shareholder in them. So we keep on evaluating our thesis, and and we don't mind doing exceptions as well.
Right.
There can't be a rule book that one can follow.
Yeah. So, what are some key learnings that you've had as an investor? What have you learned about the startup ecosystem?
I think the first and the foremost thing is we all are people. We all are individuals. We all are human beings. Nobody is a super man or something. Even the one who is writing check is similarly new to the system. Even after 100 odd investments, still there is lot to learn. And when we say lot to learn, so we also one has to keep on learning. I think that's one thing that I have understood. uh, and second is, adding value. That's my mantra in life. If you add value, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of value, either from that same individual or from somebody else. Let the universe decide. So these are the basically two things that I keep in mind while I am into in this ecosystem and the way we function. Obviously, we can't give time and give opportunity to everyone, but giving right feedback, saying yes, no, does make a difference. And not to forget, the power of networking, the power of relationships. And in that, if you are the giver, then you can guarantee yourself that you will get in returns multiples of that, whatever you give. So give very consciously and wisely what you want to give.
Right. Like, if not right now, sometime in the future, you definitely will get that return.
Sure. I'm not a small, I'm not a very big checks writer. I invested very small amount in Faad Network. They graciously accepted my amount, and I'm really thankful to them. So when Saurabh Agarwal started his firm Angelbay, I requested us if he can take a small amount, and as an exception, he took it. So I think uh, it's how you pursue your relationships, and at the end of the day, as I mentioned, we are all people. People working with people, working for people. The machines are just enablers.
Yeah, they are just tools to help us in our journey.
Absolutely, and that's why you could see that most of the companies who are very successful are actually people-driven companies, wherein tech is just an enabler.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important to understand, because as a techie, since I'm talking to an engineer, so I can say that. So most of the techies, what they no generalization, it's just a belief that if I'm good in writing codes, I'm good in programming language and all. So that's the best thing. It's one of the best things, but having a people management skill, having soft skills, having a skill to sell, I think selling is very underrated, very, but here I'm not talking about a typical sales. Here I'm talking about when you're selling to your co-workers, your class friends, your professors, your idea, you're selling to your investors. So sales come everywhere. And
Totally agree.
when I was in college, I do admit that I didn't have this kind of a quality wherein I could reach out to people, cold email, cold calling. But I think after in this last 15 odd years, I'm blessed that I have got all these opportunities where I learned all these things hard way. But I think these are very important, very,
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah. I mean, any new like skill that we are learning right now, eventually we'll have to go towards managerial sales kind of work. So
So
people,
I think as a founder, as a startup individual, you might start with two people. You might be building a solution right now. Your vision might be small, wherein you're happy with 100 odd users, or let's say 1 lakh users. But who knows when it becomes a 1 crore users and you have got a 1,000 employees. So then all these skills eventually, come, and all these people management skills, and you can't just mug it up.
yeah,
It's with experience that you understand how to deal with people, how to negotiate. Two people can't think together, so two individuals can't be treated similarly. You got to have that understanding of
Yeah.
having right kind of relationship, because as an investor, what we don't want is a conflict between founders, co-founders, or the founding team. So everything is very connected. If we look at it, everything boils down to people.
Yeah, that is true. Uh, what kind of startups have you invested in right now?
Okay. So I have invested in four startups at the moment. One is Faad Network, which is an angel network. Uh, and then I invested in another closed group angel network by the name of Angelbay. Very recently, I have invested in a Gurgaon-based accelerator, Pedalstart, which is incubating and accelerating startups. And now I'm investing in a agri-tech-based cohort, which is run by our DC alumni, DC plus MDI. He was with me in eValue Serve, and having a lot of good experience in the startup ecosystem as a senior member in a startup, and then into investing. And now he launched his own program, so I have invested in that. So these are my investments, wherein if you look, these are all B2B investments,
Yeah, I was
wherein
about to
the
ask that. So it's not like into any particular startup, it's into an
yeah,
organization.
because that's what I understand. All of these are eventually working with startups,
Yeah, yeah.
and I feel I can add value by working with these startups, sharing my experience, my knowledge, and helping them, on their fundraise, alliances, business development, hiring, uh, anything under the sun.
Right. So these are the aspects that you like look into as an investor into these
Yes,
organizations.
yes. I think everybody should build a thesis, and I think once you invest, and when I say invest, I am talking about any investment, be it real estate investment, be it a stock market, be it a mutual fund, in gold, FDs, anything you invest, over the time you build a thesis that this is what works for me, this is what I understand, and as an investor. Or as an individual who is talking to other investors, I always say invest in what you understand.
Right. And
That's easier.
hmm. And how about the dynamics between investors and founders? Like, how does that shape the startups for the future?
So again, it depends upon the investor. So there are investors who are just financial investors as well. There are investors who are operational investors who want to work with the founders. Uh, Again, it totally depends upon the investor's expertise and his experience. If he can bring up a lot of value to the table, definitely yes. Otherwise, it totally depends upon the bonding. And as a founder, I think you would definitely want a helping hand. Obviously, not somebody who is always poking nose, but for sure somebody who is there to help you out, to ease out things, to share experiences so that you don't commit that mistake.
Right. Yeah, this was a new dimension that you opened for my mind. Okay, there are like different types of investors. Some are some only invest their money, some invest their expertise and their mind. Because right now, as Shark Tank was like very in the trends, so many startups came out and said they were not receiving that much experience and one-on-one time with these sharks from themselves. Like only the teams used to connect and such. Like startups were expecting for the sharks to individually connect with them, but then they weren't receiving. So many cases came such as in this social media, right?
I think as an investor. So I'll give you a very small example. Somebody writes angel investor on their LinkedIn profile. No matter if they have done any investment, they'll start receiving couple of pitches. And those who have invested in a lot of startups, they receive a lot many pitches. Everybody wants to talk to them, but I think it's impractical. It's not going to happen. So again, I can give you a hack. If you are, if you want to speak to the other person, give something specific. Let's be very specific. Sometimes what happens is we write generally very generalized messages or emails on a very generalized. So we want an advice. So the other person feels, see, who knows whether this advice is needed or not. I know this or not. So being crisp, being on the toes, and being very straightforward is always helpful. You will get a reply either by email or by. So everyone wants to talk to the other guy for half an hour, but let me tell you, it doesn't happen like this, and it's a and I personally feel it's an eye opener and a reality check to the founders that you may want to talk to your customer, but he won't give you time. So you
Yeah.
got to figure out that hack. I'm not saying not every investor will give you time, but if you are not if he is not relevant, he feels that I can't add value. So he might not be, giving you that much of time. So you got to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in this world of internet, like you're not deprived of any opportunity, but you have to find the right way to get access to that opportunity.
So I remember there is one community by Robin Hood, Alok Kejriwal. I admire him a lot. So he always gives you a couple of hacks for your life and for startup life as well. So in one of that he mentioned that while writing emails, now it's very important that you phrase it in 2 or 3 paragraphs. In first 2 3 lines, tell who you are. In next 3 lines, tell what do you want. And in last lines, be very specific. You know, and if there is any reference from where did you get this person, email ID or something, shoot it out. The chances of getting a reply is very high. Keep it
Right.
personalized. Keep it customized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes in this like craze of cold email, someone will just write a generalized email and then like forward
Right.
it to everyone.
And it happens on LinkedIn as well. You get you get a lot of very generalized messages, and sometimes the sender also addresses you with the wrong name because he has not he's just copy pasted it. So this shows how serious you are about this particular conversation. If you are
Yeah.
not, so then you are at the peril of the receiver, whether he is generous enough to reply back or he's in what mood, I can't say.
Yeah.
And then you can't blame him that he's not replying.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So like how do you like risk management is an important thing like whenever you're investing into anything. So how do you manage your risk whenever you are investing anywhere?
I think the more knowledge you have, the more understanding of the sector you have, it de-risks your investment. Obviously, every investment is has got some or the other risk, regulatory risk, geographical risk, pandemic risk. You can't have anything for that. I mean, it's good if you are in an online business, so you can say you are not gonna hit by pandemic the way offline businesses had. But now, since things are changing, so again, uh, that's what I meant. You meant by when I say thesis. So
Hmm.
when you have thesis, you have done everything right. Rest you can't decide the results. That's
Yeah.
not in your hand. You can create a thesis framework, build it around, and you just go for it. Or you can diversify it, but again, that again comes with their its own advantages and disadvantages. So it's each and every individual have to have their own mechanism framework which they should follow.
Yeah.
Just be comfortable and have in-depth knowledge what you are investing, where you are investing.
Yeah, I mean having that sort of rule book to follow
Absolutely.
and check marks
Absolutely.
that these specific points should be there, and then like it's upon the yeah, right.
No, I think there is one more thing that I have understood or I liked about startup ecosystem is vis-a-vis stock market. Though I don't have anything against it, stock market obviously it's similar to stock market investing as well, a startup, though it's very illiquid.
Hmm.
Here, if you actually want to see your efforts reaping in results, so you can do that. You can be an investor in a startup and can work with them. I think doing that in a stock market at a listed company is very tough until unless you have got a substantial amount of money and that you have invested in. So that ways you got to find your own niche or your own expertise or your comfort level.
Right. So what I understand is like if you want to devote your time and expertise into a business, that is when angel investing or investing into a startup is the right thing. But if you passively just want to invest into a business, like stocks are a great way then, right?
No, again, there is a catch. Uh,
Nuance.
yeah. So the good part is if you want to build a portfolio, if you want to build a diversified portfolio, and let's say you have got for hypothetically 10 lakh rupees to invest across sectors, across stock markets and startups, let's say. So what you can do is 80% give it to the stock market if you understand that. 20% to the startups if you don't understand startups at all, because this is the riskiest of the asset class. And another problem is it's illiquid. You can't
Hmm.
just go and sell your shares. So, but if done right, this can be the one which will actually create value to your portfolio, because the chances of 50x, 10x, 25x is there, which
Hmm.
which is there in the stock market as well. Again, that's what I'm saying. How deep you can go will eventually decide the future of your investment. So no instrument is bad. You know, there are people who have, I can't name them, but there are people who have exited stock market and transferred all the money to startups because they have tasted success out of it. So somebody who has invested, let's say, 5 odd lakhs, 5 or 7 odd years back, and now if it is 1 CR, 2 CR, or 5 CR in companies like Oyos and Paytms of the world, you won't mind investing more in this asset class.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I'm saying there are no generalized things. It is very individualistic, and similar should be one's approach toward building their own investment piece.
Yeah.
Somebody
Right.
might have earned huge money from real estate. He don't want to get into he don't want to get into anything else.
Right.
So again, that's what investors, they come in all shape sizes.
Hmm. So as we've touched upon real estate, I have to ask you this thing. What is your viewpoint on the recent SVB crash that has happened?
Uh, I think again, you were asking risk mitigation, and I think you can't do anything about it. It's at a very macro level, and when things happen at a very macro level, I think what you can do is probably have good people who can probably help you out at these times, or maybe give you some hints that this is happening and one should take up action. But I don't know. So in my limited knowledge, I don't know what one could have done for this. I see it. I mean, uh, who knows? Everybody in in this world might have their money in one or the other banks, and if they fail, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
Nothing. I think
I
it's
mean,
just that because startups are in limelight and SVB was in the startup ecosystem. That's why I think it got so much hype.
hmm.
Uh, and it's true as well. But I think similar thing happened in Indian banks as well, and so I think it's just that uh, the the sector is different than the event, in the SVB case. Uh, though I don't have much understanding of very in-depth understanding of the financial thing that happened there. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but you can't do anything about it.
So has there been any impact on your day-to-day investment strategies and all due to SVB?
No, I don't feel so because, as I mentioned, my thesis is a bit different. I work with the founders, then invest in them. So that gives a bit of comfort, whom we are backing, and I think, as I think we all say that, especially in this case, especially in the startup space, we are investing or backing on the jockey, not on the horse, because uh, while we are investing backing the jockey, not the
Right.
horse.
Yeah, yeah. I had to think a bit about that, but yeah, I get it now.
Because you might start with a solution, but you might pivot.
Yeah.
You might pivot your solution. You might change the whole solution. You might change the markets as well. So here we need to back those teams, those jockeys who are resilient, who can do this thing.
Right. So, like we've like talked this much about team and startups. So, what kind of teams are like best suited for a startup to success? Like, what are the key things that are necessary in a team?
I think their ability to gauge the problem and go after it. I think rest all falls into the place, because for that you need to have domain experience if it is a traditional business. If it is a new category that you are creating, then you got to be very much passionate about the problem. Uh, and I think the ability to create uh, or bond a team is what makes a good founders or founding team. So all the skills that we spoke about, people management, sales. So these are the things which eventually, you see, you will always have in the founding team as a complementary skills. If one is a techie, then the other would be good in marketing, sales, and all. So I think that's what we look for, if the founding team has got all the materials or not.
Right. So, like, is it necessary for each founder to like have well-defined roles into the startup, or is it like fine for them to be generalists? So, what is your viewpoint upon like like the founding team members? Should they be like generalist or specialist? Like, should they be having well-defined roles in their startup, or they should like be open to explore all aspects, all the sides?
Okay. So I think that depends upon how big the founding team is. Let's say, if otherwise, what will happen is there would be a cross linkage. There would be a lot of leakage of time, energy on the similar aspect. uh, and it's always good to play to your strength and build onto your weakness when you have time. So if, let's say, you got two people and two founders, and one is good in technology and another one is into marketing, it's always best to let them do what they are best in, and keep on giving inputs or their viewpoints on the other aspect of it. And because we have seen, this is such a big journey, this is such a journey that you require a lot of energy, time, and bandwidth. But one thing that I have understood is, again, I'll be reiterating that the skill to sell should be there in both of them. And because one might be hiring techies, you need to have that story. You don't need to be a salesman. You can be selling without selling, and that's the art, and that's what is needed. So I think, uh, though
Right.
it's always good to be a generalistic, always, but sometimes you definitely need a specialist. I mean, you can't get your surgery done by a generalist. You will go for a surgeon, right? Who you'll go for a specialist. But but when it comes to a overall perspective, having a generalized view is very good. So I think a specialist with a generalized view is a very good combination. It keeps you
Right.
grounded. It keeps you motivated. You can learn, unlearn, and then relearn. That's very important in this space or
Hmm.
everywhere else as well. The way things are changing, the way dynamics, technology, everything is changing. So you got to first unlearn, then relearn and apply.
Right. And what are like two, three complementary skills that are required in a like founder in the
So
founders?
I think you take up any business, you will always have two aspects of it. One is the development side, other is the sales side or the front end side. So in a manufacturing setup, you might be manufacturing it in a tech product. You might be developing it or handling vendors or handling the execution part. So it's always sales and the operations part which goes, and I think and both of them should go hand on hand. It should be in sync. You can't be making things which the customers don't want, and you can't be over promising which your team can't deliver. So I think being realistic on your own abilities to deliver is very important. Obviously you can motivate them with stiffer targets, with out of the box problem solutions, that's fine.
Like
But
Steve Jobs.
and I think that works. That works in each every aspect we have seen in life as well. When we motivate others, they do wonders, but sometimes we crush them under pressure as well. There
Right.
has to be that balance. That balance.
Right. Okay, cool. I guess that's it. Fine.
I think let's do it on a closing note, and the way you want to close it, you can close it. I'm there.
Cool. Okay, thank you so much, Varun, for joining in. This was a very interesting conversation, and like we are short on time, that's why even my laptop's charge is over, and I don't have a port over here. Or it's like I want to have a lot more discussions with you.
No. So I think Aryan, thank you so much. It's always pleasure talking to young people, and especially when it is from DC. I mean, I just can't tell you my excitement and the way I'm feeling right now. And I really, I think you guys are blessed. You got so much. You are in this era wherein a lot of things are there. You can experiment a lot. I mean, I was not that smart. You guys are so smart. You got so much to do. So, hats off to you guys. All the very best from my side. Do let me know if I can be of any help. I can add any value. I'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you so much. All
Sure.
the best.
Thank you so much, Varun. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank, thanks a lot.